Okay, we're jumping straight into some pretty shocking reports coming out of April 3rd, 2026. An American F-15 fighter jet has been brought down over Iran. Right now, a huge search and rescue mission is in full swing, and the details of how this all happened are, well, they're both fascinating and seriously concerning. So let's get right into it. And this quote from one of our sources just perfectly sums up the big mystery here, right? How on earth did this happen? How does a piece of cutting-edge military hardware get taken down like this? That is the big question at the center of our whole forensic breakdown today. All right, so let's wind the clock back to the very beginning. First up, we're going to focus on the incident itself, just piecing together those first chaotic reports as they started flooding in. So on the morning of April 3rd, this story just explodes. Word starts spreading fast that a U.S. Air Force jet was hit and it crashed somewhere in the south of Iran. Instantly, everyone's asking, what kind of jet are we talking about and what happened to the crew? And boom, here's the first real piece of evidence that surfaced. It's a photo passed around through open source channels, and it shows this huge impact crater just blasted into the desert floor. Now, this tells us the plane's final moments were incredibly violent, but it doesn't tell us what kind of plane it was. For that, we've got to look at the wreckage. Which, of course, brings us to our next step. In any kind of crash investigation, the debris field is an absolute goldmine of clues. So let's dig into the wreckage and see if we can get a positive ID on this aircraft. You've got analysts combing through these fragments, just scattered all over the sand. The mission is to find one piece, any piece really, that can give them that one definitive clue. And you know what? They found it. This is it. This is the golden ticket. It might just look like a minor detail on some cylindrical gray part, but that stencil, combined with the specific shape of the component, that became the fingerprint they needed to start matching this wreckage to a particular type of plane. And this table just lays it all out piece by piece. It's actually brilliant how they did it. That tail boom shape, a dead ringer for an F-15 Strike Eagle. They pulled up the schematics, and yep, the rivet patterns and the mounting brackets matched perfectly. Even the specific shade of green primer on the inside parts, totally standard for this generation of fighter. And the final nail in the coffin? Other pieces had tail markings that linked the jet to the 494th Fighter Squadron. So here's the bottom line. This was not a super advanced 5th-gen stealth fighter like an F-22 or an F-35. You can tell by the exposed rivets and the normal panel lines. The evidence is absolutely conclusive. The plane that went down was an F-15 Strike Eagle. But that only solves half the mystery. What about the people who were inside? Now that we know what went down, the focus makes a massive pivot to the human side of this. A huge operation spins up with just one objective: find the crew before the Iranians do. And then this pops up, a glimmer of hope. This is a McDonnell Douglas ACES-2 ejection seat. Local residents found it out in the desert. Finding this is a really strong sign that at least one of the crew members managed to punch out before the plane was destroyed. It means they could still be alive out there, somewhere. And you gotta remember, the F-15 Strike Eagle is a two-seater. You've got the pilot up front, and in the back, you have a Weapons Systems Officer, or WSO. So that means we're talking about 2 American lives completely unaccounted for deep inside hostile territory. The stakes just got a whole lot higher. So what does the U.S. military do? They flood the zone. And we're not talking about a small search party here. This is a full-blown air armada. You've got F-35s for air cover, AC-130 gunships for support, Reaper drones for surveillance, and Pave Hawk helicopters to make the actual rescue. And all of that is supported by tankers and command aircraft. It's just an incredible amount of firepower and logistics, all laser-focused on finding 2 people. But here's the twist. They weren't the only ones on the hunt. Iranian state media pretty quickly put out a notice offering a cash reward to anyone who could find the American crew. So now, it's not just a search, it's a desperate race. It also kind of suggested that, for a little while anyway, the Iranians didn't have them either. Okay, so this brings us to the part that just blows my mind. We know what it was, but how? How did a jet like this get taken down? The answer, well, it shines a light on a really strange and unsettling new reality in air combat. Just look at this matchup. It's almost absurd. On one side, you have a supersonic marvel of engineering, a jet built to dominate other jets. And on the other, a slow-moving propeller drone. It's made of plastic and wood, and it flies super low to the ground.
This is the absolute definition of asymmetric warfare, where your opponent's biggest weakness actually becomes its greatest strength.
Let's talk money for a second, because this is where it gets really crazy. A single F-15 Strike Eagle, we're talking $90 million. It's one of the most capable and most expensive fighter jets ever made. Now, look at this. The drone it was potentially up against, $20,000. That's less than a new car. You could literally launch thousands of these things for the price of just one F-15.
And this right here is the absolute crux of the issue. It's a physics problem, plain and simple. The F-15 and its million-dollar missiles, they're designed to track and kill fast-moving, high-flying jets. They actually struggle to tell the difference between a slow-moving drone and the random clutter on the ground below. It's kind of like trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer.
So you can see how this one incident is forcing a massive rethink. The old rulebook for air superiority is basically being tossed out the window, and the Pentagon is having to come up with new plays on the fly.
And the answer the Pentagon came up with, well, it's not what you'd expect. To fight this new drone threat, they're not rolling out a newer, faster jet. Nope. They're deploying this, the A-10 Thunderbolt II, better known to everyone as the Warthog, an aircraft famous for being tough, rugged, and built for a totally different kind of fight.
So why the Warthog of all things? Well, it's pretty simple when you break it down. First, it can fly low and slow, just circling over an area to track these drones. Second, it can use cheaper laser-guided rockets instead of those million-dollar missiles. And of course, it has that legendary 30mm Gatling gun for when things get up close and personal. It's the perfect tool for this very specific job. And that's really the big takeaway here, isn't it? The downing of this F-15 is a huge wake-up call. It proves that modern warfare isn't always won by the person with the shiniest, most high-tech toy. It's about having the right strategy and the right tool for the specific threat you're up against. Which leaves us all with this one final thought to chew on. As technology keeps creating these bizarre matchups, the super advanced versus the super simple, our whole definition of what it means to control the sky is being challenged. It really makes you ask, in this new age of combat, who actually has the advantage?